we've lost somebody, man. A giant, John Forte, man.
Yeah, man. John Forte. Let me clear my throat. John Forte. That's my guy, man. I miss that man so much. Man, took a piece of me with him. That was the closest person to me coming into this game. John Forte put me in this game.
Wow.
And a lot of people just know him from the Fugees.
Yeah.
Or just know him from, the charges he caught up in, the things he got caught up in. But his story is like a movie. Like if I told you John Forte's story, you wouldn't believe it. This is like black excellence personified. Like this is a dude straight up from Brownsville, Brooklyn, God body dude, early, rest in peace Allah's son, shout out to Sabar Allah, Brownsville legends who helped raise up John Forte, his mom Flo, Miss Flo, yes indeed, and John, shout out to my man Vic Black from the Gangstar Foundation. Like my man Rubik's and Juju, they introduced me to John Forte. I met him on the platform of the two intersect with the 4 train, Franklin Avenue. And we used to go to Greenwich Village, and we was little kids in the Greenwich Village by Gray's Papayas, by House of Nubian, walking up and down Broadway, freestyling Washington Square Park. John Forte was a king in that park. And in that park, he met Jessica Rosenblum, who was a very popular party promoter. She had an entertainment company called Stress Entertainment. And at that time...
I heard about Stress.
Yeah, she managed DJs. And she managed a little-known DJ's name, Funkmaster Flex,
wow.
Big Cap, rest in peace, DJ Enough. She was working Bismarcky at the time, Mad Wayne, the Flip Squad. They was a Flip Squad. And this is pre-Hot 97, right? So this whole era is when Funkmaster Flex is getting on Hot 97, and Hot 97 is built around what Flex did. And John Forte he rapped for her and got her to invest in him as an artist. And so John Forte started taking us, and she threw that party, the Tunnel. You heard the Tunnel?
Yeah, for sure.
Belly scene
For sure.
Jessica was one of the promoters of that party. So of my job when I was rolling with John Forte was I had to go to the Tunnel early on a Sunday and put up the posters for whatever artist was coming. So like Domino was coming to do Ghetto Jam at the Tunnel. You know what I'm saying? I had to go up there and, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man, Forte had us in those circles with those people. I seen Old Dirty Bastard freestyle battle with Busta Rhymes in those clubs.
With your own eyes.
I smoked a blunt with Biggie and Tupac because of John Forte in the country club.
Pause.
Absolutely.
You smoked the blunt. This is why y'all got me on this show, man. Because he's not going to talk about that. It's just another day in his life.
Yeah.
So many stories to him are just it's just something that happened.
I need to qualify that. John Forte was in the VIP section. Shout out to my man Chino, C Knowledge from Diggable Planets. He was there.
That's my man's.
Yeah.
That's my man's. That's my man.
They was in the VIP section with Biggie and Tupac. I wasn't cool enough. I was, I got the rope, and then they got the VIP, and then I was in a chair outside of the VIP, right? And the blunt was going around, and somebody passed it, seen me, and was like, yo, you want to hit this? So I wasn't like in the VIP, but I got to hit that blunt.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
After that, we were still in high school. I got sent away to boarding school. John Forte got sent away to boarding school. I went to Cheshire Academy. John Forte went to Phillips Exeter. And we remained good friends, close friends, to the point where we graduated at the same time, and we made a pact. We said we're going to apply to New York University, and we're going to get into NYU, and we're going to be roommates at NYU. And that was solely based on the fact that our entire world was Greenwich Village and Washington Square Park. And Washington Square Park is the campus of NYU. So we was like, that's as far as we thought it. He went to business school. I was in Tisch Experimental Theater. I think he was in Stern Business School. And as far as we thought it was like, yo, we going to be in the park. But that didn't work out. John Forte, he never came to class. He never came to the dorm. Because at that point, he started going to the Booger Basement. And through John Forte, I met Miss Lauryn Hill and Wyclef. He told a story about how he went to when Fugees had Blunted on Reality out. He went to one of their little events, and he told the Fugees how much he appreciated them as a group. And he got down with the crew.
That's how he got down with them.
Yeah. Just being a fan.
I was going to ask you that, but I didn't want to
being a
center it
fan.
around the Fugees universe because, like you said, a lot of
Yeah.
people only identify him from the Fugees. But I did want to know how he got down with them.
Yeah, he got down with them, and he was assisting and helping out and production. And you hear John Forte, he was learning how to be a producer at that time, and he learned on that album. So if you look at the production credits on Cowboys and Family Business, and he's rapping on these records, and now he's touring with the Fugees, and then Lauren came out and blew up, and Wyclef, and then they did that record, and then John had the record. It was John Forte was next, so he did a record called Poli Sci. Have you seen that cipher that Torre is interviewing? It's got Yasin Bey and Big Pun and Cannabis, and John Forte is in the center of it.
Yep.
He got Fat Joe on his debut album, DMX on his debut album.
The John Forte album for the hip hop fans at the time, that was a big deal.
It was sleek though. It was
got
like,
slept on.
It was sleek. I mean, the production on it was like, it was slick. It was like for the clubs, for the industry.
Yeah.
And it tanked. It didn't do well.
Yeah.
And that set John back in terms of like how he saw himself.
I remember it being one of the more slept on hip hop albums as a fan.
Yeah.
But I also remember at the time a lot of hip hop media was behind that album.
Yeah, he had, he was, Refugee Camp All-Star. That album didn't do what it's supposed to do. And John has told his own story, so I'm not going to tell his own story, but he gets caught up in the mix of trying to just, make a bread. And according to how John tells the story, he wanted to go independent. So he was doing certain things to try to, supplement his income so he could go independent, and it didn't work out. He ended up getting sent to jail for some time. But before he went to jail, he got sentenced to 14 years, which is a long time. And that was hard for me as I was starting my career, he was starting his career.
Yeah.
We were getting separated.
I can imagine.
We weren't hanging out as much.
I can imagine.
So I'm watching this from a distance. Man, that's my boy.
I can imagine.
Like, damn, what's going on with John? He got 14 years.
I can only imagine.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And right before he went in, he did a record called I, John, which is not on Spotify, but if you go on YouTube, you can listen to it. I, John is an incredible record. And everything that he wanted to do to be realized on Poli Sci was fully realized on I, John. I, John, to me, is a more representative, a better representation of John musically than Poli Sci. Because now he's thinking, this is the last piece of music I'm going to make. You know what I'm saying? Imagine you got 14 years. You're going to make an album. What you going to say on that album?
Damn, man. That's deep.
You know
I need to go check that out and listen to it with that mindset.
Oh, it's crazy. So he goes in, and at this point, remember, we started to get separated. So I don't really have a way to contact him. Carly Simon, he's good friends with Ben Taylor, who's the son of legendary artist James Taylor and Carly Simon. Carly Simon, I was in Kings Plaza Mall buying something. Carly Simon called my phone. She's like, I heard you friends with John Forte. I was like, I am. She's like, here's how you get in touch with him. Here's what we're doing to try to free him. She put me in the mix. So I was able to go visit him. And I went to visit him, what I thought in my mind to lift his spirits. But the tables turned and he lifted my spirits.
Wow.
Which was amazing to me. I'm like, how
so
is
you went to visit him.
Yeah.
He was locked up.
Yeah.
And you go in there kind of with the hope that you coming from the outs would motivate him and he motivated you.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. He got me on my Dean a little bit more. And then there was a crazy situation where he would be like, yo, I think I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna get pardoned. And what you told me? He's like, yo, George Bush. Think I'm gonna get this George Bush pardoned. And I had to go back around the way and be like, yo, John is losing it. He talking about George Bush gonna let him out of jail. You know what I'm saying? And then the shit happens. And George Bush, and I don't like George Bush at all.
Yeah.
Like the way we talk about Trump now, that's how we was talking about
You
George
brought
Bush.
up a good point about that last night in conversation, saying how like sometimes stuff be sticky. Like George Bush gets your homeboy out the pen. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, you and Yasin been smoking on the George Bush pack. Y'all blazing the pack.
Absolutely. And I know John's politic is the same as ours. I know he agreed with what we're saying, but he was able to, John was good at navigating relationships, and whatever relationships he was able to navigate, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but he was able to make that happen based on who he was as a human being.
Wow.
And he was important enough in the world where the universe was like, nah, we can't have that man locked up.
Do you think it was a pardon where because a lot of these Trump pardons are people who got the means to get the money to the right person.
Right. The gold card.
Yeah. Do you think it was one of them pardons where he was such a favorable person in certain corners?
All right. So he did my podcast, People's Party. What I learned about one of the things I learned People's Party is let the guest answer the question because you had your idea of what you think happened, and then so. I was watching it recently. That's why I'm thinking about it. I was like, so John, this happened and this how this happened, right? He was like, no, that's not how that happened. I'm like, no, but then remember this happened. And he was like, no, and I had developed my whole narrative in my head. And so I don't know if either my narrative was incorrect or I was supposed to be speaking on it to that degree. I'm not sure which one it was.
Right.
But in my mind, Orrin Hatch was someone who was a Republican senator, I think from Utah or Pennsylvania. Where's Orrin Hatch from? See, I did this on my podcast and I'm fucking up again. Orrin Hatch was someone who was a fan of John Forte, and Orrin Hatch was someone who supported George Bush. And so in my mind...
That's a heck of a combination.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of John Forte, but I supported George Bush.
Yeah.
And this is where these roads meet.
Yeah. I thought Orrin Hatch had something to do with it, and Forte was like, "I'm not sure if that's the case." But yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was. But he came out, and Orrin Hatch is from Utah. Yeah. So he gets out of jail 7 years, and as soon as he gets out, we do a record called Homecoming. I think we went in the studio that day or the next day. We rhyming on that Kanye Homecoming beat, and John began. When he got out, he began like being an ambassador for music. He really got good at the guitar, and he stripped down his music to just play guitar while he was in there. There's a record he got called Wind Song with a Russian artist. If you're watching this, I encourage you, put this on pause and go listen to John Forte Wind Song. I don't remember the name of the Russian artist. Both of them sound amazing on it, but it's one of my favorite songs. But John Forte put out a bunch of albums just focused on him and the guitar. After he came out of prison, and the lyrics, he was always dope lyrically, but now he has the experience of being locked in the belly of the beast. So now his vision and his lyrical vision is just a lot more stronger, and he has, his bars teared up listening to his music because it's like he knew he was gonna go, and he knew he had to say things for his children, for his family, and his last record is a record called Rhythm Drive, and it's just him on guitar with bars, and I'm on it, and Ben Taylor's on it, and I put it out through my label, Javoti Music, 2 or 3 years ago. It was his last project, and my last conversation with John Forte was a week before Christmas. He had called me up. He said, "Remember that record we put out?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Did we make anything from that?" Because that was our relationship. I was like, "I hadn't checked." And I checked and we made some money from it. And so I sent him some money and he was like, "Yo." And I sent it to him like within while we was having the conversation. He was like, "Yo, man." And then we had a very deep spiritual conversation about how important our relationship was and how important it was that we stay in touch and how we link up, how much he means to me and how much I mean to him. And his relationship with my son, he was good friends with my son, Amani. And that was my last conversation with John.
That's crazy.
So I'm glad that we got to have that conversation.
That's crazy, man. I met John Forte only one time in my many travels, and I'd rather not say on camera where and how we met. But it wasn't nothing studio about John Forte. And it's crazy because I don't have nowhere near the relationship with him that you had. I just met him in transit. But even some of the things that you're saying were present in that interaction. He was playing guitar. But I could tell he was like a street dude in a sense. But he was a different type of street dude off our interaction. Like he was kind of like, I was like, I ain't never really met nobody like this. Like you obviously not to be played with, but you also are like a different type of person.
Yeah, he was different.
Which side are